What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Paradox Kingdom. So, in this clip, I wanted to show it's a debate between a Christian and three atheists. And I think that the Christian actually presents and shows a big flaw that's in many atheists' perspective as they're talking and thinking about God. The God that they're talking about is not the same God that we're talking about. So let's watch this clip, and then I'm going to give a little bit feedback throughout it. And actually, some Christians do the same thing on this as well. They commit the same issue, but let's go ahead and check it out.
I want you to fill in the story of the rest of the beginning of the universe. God, spiritual matter, impact on material matter.
Okay, so two questions. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong, obviously it displays that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant, because if there were matter but no space...
So let's, so I want to interrupt because that's the first part that what he just said is exactly what I was talking about. Many atheists say, well, God cannot create miracles because miracles don't exist. And if God is God, then he has to be able to do things that we can't do, right? If God is limited by what we can do as humans, then he's just like a demigod.
Enough! You are all of you beneath me. I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Puny God.
Right. And when we say God, we're not talking about just something or someone that is like us, but a little bit stronger, right? We're not talking about like a Hercules and things like that. There's stories like Samson in the Bible, and they didn't consider him God just because he had supernatural strength, right? I think that's a very important thing. And then he's going to go ahead and explain and break it down a little bit more. But I think Christians do this as well. When we think about Calvinists and the way that they think about God, or they describe God and say, well, God cannot, almost, it's in a sense saying that God cannot create human beings with free will because we might do something that he doesn't know or he can't control, or something outside of his will. And it just gets really, really messy in a sense. And I think that many Christians, Calvinists and other Christians as well, put God in a box that is not what we're supposed to put him in. We describe him in certain ways that is almost taking away his power. That's also an issue for many atheists, because they're trying to say God is limited because we're limited. We live in this earth, we have these laws, we have these things that normally happen, right? This is the way things normally flow. But if there is a God who created that, he can come into time and space, he can be outside time and space, he can do things that are beyond our normal laws.
If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant. Because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter, created a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously, and the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think? Okay, so your question, where did God come from, is assuming a limited God. And that's your problem. The God that I worship is not limited by time, space, or matter. If I could fit the infinite God in my 3-pound brain, he would not be worth worshiping, that's for certain. So that's the God that I worship. Thank you.
This is easy. Baby stuff. We're Boy Scouts.
So such a great mic drop moment at the end, the way that he explains it. So even if atheists don't agree with our representation of who God is, it's important for them not to strawman, and it's important for them to actually understand what we're saying when we talk about God. So when many atheists actually talk about what happened and how did the Big Bang happen and what was there, and they have to change definitions. I know Lawrence Krauss does that a lot, where he says there was nothingness, and nothing is not nothing, but it's something. And so then that changes the whole definition of what nothingness is.
Because how they get a universe from nothing is by redefining nothing. That is absolute foolish absurdity.
I have read that review. I think I read it in preparation to talk to Lawrence Krauss, who I know follows me on Twitter. So I'll be careful what I say about him here and how much I agree with you on the sloppiness of his work. But yeah, it's worth bearing in mind that we're talking about two different things here, right? When a philosopher is talking about nothing, they mean, as Aristotle said, what rocks dream of. They mean nothing, right? And so if there's some kind of quantum soup or something, then that is not actually nothing. But
yeah, here's how I like to put it, Alex. Nothing, the word nothing, even though it's a pronoun, it's not a referring term.
Right.
It's not a singular term. It's a universal quantifier. It's a negative quantifier. It means not anything.
Yes.
So if I say I had nothing for lunch, that is saying I did not have anything for lunch.
Now, if you have to go to that extreme to get rid of God, you're not getting rid of God at all.
You have to play all these different word games just to get away from God, and that doesn't really make sense. But if you're gonna disagree with Christianity, it's important to actually know what we mean by God, that he is not limited by time, space, or matter. If there's another video that you watched that you want me to comment on, or have any questions about, or you want to disagree with me, please leave it in the comments. I would love to dialogue with you. Until next time, peace.